Did you know that during World War II, the United States had a secret army made entirely of artists? It sounds like something out of a movie, but this was a real top secret unit, and their story is one of the most incredible tales of the war. They weren't soldiers in the traditional sense. They were painters, actors, sound engineers, architects, and designers recruited straight from the art schools and ad agencies of New York and Philadelphia. This unit was officially known as the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, but they earned a much cooler nickname, the Ghost Army. Their mission wasn't to fight with bullets and bombs, but with something far more unconventional: creativity and illusion. Their job was to fool Hitler and the entire German army, and they became masters of deception on a scale never seen before. Imagine you're a German soldier looking out across the French countryside. Overnight, a massive Allied force has appeared near your position. You see hundreds of tanks, trucks, and artillery pieces all lined up and ready for an attack. The sheer size of this army is terrifying. It looks like an entire armored division has materialized out of thin air. But what if I told you that entire army was made of rubber? One of the Ghost Army's most brilliant tricks was using inflatable tanks. These weren't just simple balloons. They were life-sized, incredibly detailed replicas of Sherman tanks, jeeps, and howitzers. From a distance, or from the air, they were indistinguishable from the real thing. A small team of just a few men could inflate an entire armored column in a matter of hours, creating the illusion of a force of thousands. They even made sure to create fake tank tracks with special rollers to complete the deception. The Germans would spot this massive buildup, report it back to their commanders, and divert their own real troops to counter a threat that didn't actually exist. It was a stroke of genius, turning a battlefield into a stage. But a silent army isn't very convincing, right? The Ghost Army knew that illusion had to appeal to all the senses, especially hearing. So they brought in sound engineers who created what was essentially a traveling sound effect show for the battlefield. They recorded the sounds of real divisions on massive wire recorders, the clatter of tank treads, the rumble of troop trucks, the shouts of soldiers, the boom of artillery fire. Then they would haul massive speakers, some way over 500 pounds, to their fake front lines. In the dead of night, they would blast these recordings, sometimes at volumes audible up to 15 miles away. To a German listening post, it sounded like an entire armored division was on the move, preparing for a dawn assault. They combined these sounds with their inflatable decoys, creating a multi-sensory deception that was almost impossible to see through. The Germans would hear an army, see an army, and have no choice but to believe it was real. The deception didn't stop with sights and sounds. The Ghost Army also had a team of expert radio operators. This part of the illusion was called spoof radio. These operators were masters of mimicry. They would study the unique communication styles of different real Allied units, the specific slang they used, the rhythm of their Morse code transmissions, even the mistakes individual operators tended to make. Then they would imitate them perfectly. They'd broadcast fake messages, creating a whirlwind of radio traffic that suggested a large headquarters was operating in the area. German intelligence, who were constantly monitoring Allied radio waves, would pick up this chatter. They would intercept messages about troop movements, supply requests, and battle plans, all of it completely fabricated. This digital ghost trail would reinforce the physical illusions on the ground, making the German high command absolutely certain that a major Allied force was exactly where the Ghost Army wanted to think it was. To make the performance truly believable, the men of the Ghost Army had to become actors. They would drive real trucks in looping convoys to create the illusion of heavy traffic. They'd go into nearby French towns, dressed as colonels and generals, and talk loudly in cafes and bars, deliberately leaking false information about their unit's plans, knowing that local spies and sympathizers would report what they heard. They'd set up fake command posts, complete with phony generals pacing back and forth, and would even sew fake unit patches onto their uniforms. Every man had a role to play. They weren't just soldiers. They were method actors on the world's most dangerous stage. Their performance had to be perfect, because if the Germans caught on, their small, lightly armed unit would be no match for a real panzer division. They were always just one mistake away from disaster, but their courage and creativity never faltered. So, did it work? The answer is a resounding yes. The Ghost Army's deceptions are credited with saving an estimated 15,000 to 30,000 American lives. They conducted more than 20 major operations, often operating just a few miles from the front lines. In one famous instance, they held a very thinly defended 10-mile stretch of over a week, convincing the Germans that a full-strength division was there, while the real division secretly moved to a different location to prepare an attack. By drawing enemy fire and attention to themselves, they allowed real Allied units to maneuver and fight with a massive tactical advantage. They would trick the Germans into shelling empty fields filled with rubber tanks, wasting precious ammunition, and revealing their artillery positions. They were a phantom force, a strategic tool that commanders could use to confuse, distract, and demoralize the enemy without firing a single shot in anger. Perhaps their most significant contribution, however, came during the lead-up to the most famous battle of the war, D-Day. The entire success of the Normandy invasion depended on tricking the Germans about where the main landing would take place. While the Ghost Army was part of a much larger Allied deception effort called Operation Fortitude, their techniques were central to its success. They helped create the illusion of a massive phantom army group under the command of the famous General George S. Patton, supposedly preparing to invade at Pas-de-Calais, the narrowest point in the English Channel. They set up vast camps of inflatable tanks and decoy landing craft in southeast England. The Germans fell for it completely. Even after the D-Day landings began in Normandy, Hitler was so convinced that it was just a diversion that he held back his best panzer divisions, waiting for the real invasion at Pas-de-Calais that would never come. This crucial delay gave the Allies the time they needed to establish a secure beachhead in Normandy, a feat that would have been nearly impossible otherwise. The Ghost Army's art of illusion helped change the course of the war. Despite their incredible success and impact, the story of the Ghost Army remained one of the best-kept secrets of World War II. Operations were classified as top secret for over 50 years after the war ended. The men who served were sworn to secrecy. They returned home, went back to their lives as artists and designers, and couldn't tell anyone, not their friends, not their wives, not even their children, about their extraordinary wartime service. Imagine saving thousands of lives with your creativity, but being unable to talk about it. It wasn't until the 1990s that the records were finally declassified and their story began to come to light. Many of the veterans were in their 70s and 80s by then, finally able to share the truth about their role in winning the war. They were finally recognized for their bravery, receiving their Congressional Gold Medal in 2022. The legacy of the Ghost Army is a powerful reminder that warfare isn't always about brute force. It's a testament to the power of human ingenuity, creativity, and imagination. These men proved that a paintbrush could be as mighty as a sword, and a sound recording could be as effective as an artillery shell. They took the skills they had honed in art studios and on stage and applied them to the battlefield with stunning success. Their story is more than just a fascinating piece of military history. It's a celebration of out-of-the-box thinking and the idea that sometimes the most brilliant solutions come from the most unexpected places. They were the artists who fooled Hitler, the masters of illusion who fought a war with creativity, and their secret legacy is one of the greatest untold stories of World War II. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible hidden histories. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Ghost Army. See you in the next video.